In early 1941, the Atlantic Ocean had become a graveyard for merchant vessels. German U-boats hunted Allied shipping lanes with devastating effectiveness, sinking supplies vital for Britain's survival. Britain, standing nearly alone against Nazi Germany, desperately needed replacements for its lost cargo carriers. The nation turned to the United States, still officially neutral but increasingly sympathetic to the Allied cause. An initial order for 60 cargo ships arrived from the British Purchasing Commission. This request catalyzed action within the Roosevelt administration. Subsequently, the United States Maritime Commission, under Admiral Emory S. Land, initiated the Emergency Shipbuilding Program. The goal was unprecedented: to build hundreds of cargo ships quickly and cheaply. A standardized, simplified vessel design was adopted. Based on a British concept adapted for American mass production techniques, these vessels would soon gain a famous name: Liberty ships. Their design specifications prioritized cargo capacity and rapid construction over speed or grace. They were intended as expendable workhorses of the sea. During this period, traditional shipbuilding methods involving complex riveting were set aside. Instead, engineers embraced newer techniques like prefabrication and welding. Entire sections of a ship could be built elsewhere, sometimes miles from the coast, and then transported to the shipyard for final assembly. Welding joined steel plates faster and required less skilled labor than riveting. Industrialist Henry J. Kaiser became a prominent figure in this effort. His companies applied assembly line principles to shipbuilding, drastically reducing construction times. New shipyards sprang up almost overnight along the Atlantic, Pacific, and Gulf coasts. Locations like Richmond, California, Portland, Oregon, and Baltimore, Maryland became hubs of intense activity. Mobilizing the necessary labor force was a monumental task. Barriers began to fall as unprecedented numbers of workers were recruited, including many women and African Americans previously excluded from such industrial roles. Training programs taught thousands the skills of welding, fitting, and assembly needed for the shipyards. The nation was gearing up its industrial might. In the year 1941, specifically on September 27th, a significant milestone was reached. Dubbed Liberty Fleet Day, 14 emergency cargo vessels were launched simultaneously across the country. Among them was the SS Patrick Henry, the very first completed Liberty ship, launched from the Bethlehem Fairfield shipyard in Baltimore. Its completion marked the tangible start of the massive production drive. Though the initial output in 1941 was modest compared to what followed, the systems were being put in place. Prefabrication techniques were refined, supply chains established, and the workforce trained. As events unfolded throughout late 1941, the pace quickened. The foundation laid during these months proved crucial. The attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 transformed the emergency shipbuilding program from important aid into a critical component of America's own war survival. The Liberty ships, conceived in urgency, were now central to victory. Following the declaration of war in December 1941, the imperative driving the Liberty ship program shifted profoundly. What began as aid became a matter of national survival. Existing production schedules, ambitious just weeks before, were immediately understood to be insufficient for the scale of the conflict the United States now faced. President Roosevelt called for a staggering increase in shipbuilding output. The demand for cargo capacity to support a two-ocean war effort became paramount. Throughout the shipyards, the atmosphere crackled with renewed intensity. Workers recognized their direct role in the fight ahead. During these final weeks of 1941, the focus sharpened intensely. Every hour counted. Every completed vessel represented a tangible asset for the newly mobilized nation. Challenges mounted. Alongside the urgency, allocating steel and essential components became more complex as military demands surged across the entire economy. Shipbuilders worked with fierce determination, understanding that the vessels taking shape were vital lifelines. They were crafting the means to project American power and sustain forces overseas. The earlier efforts in establishing standardized designs and assembly line techniques proved invaluable. This foundation allowed for the rapid acceleration demanded by wartime necessity. Though the peak production years were still to come, the closing moments of 1941 set the stage. The Liberty Ship program transformed from an emergency measure into a central pillar of the American war machine. The attack on Pearl Harbor instantly galvanized the nation, and its effect rippled through every shipyard involved in the Liberty program. The demand was no longer just for aid, but for America's own projection of power. Existing contracts were rapidly reassessed and expanded. Goals that seemed ambitious weeks prior were suddenly deemed inadequate for the global conflict now underway. Resources flowed towards the shipyards with greater urgency. Steel allocation, manpower recruitment, and component manufacturing received heightened priority within the war economy. During this period, the work took on a solemn, determined quality. Launchings were less celebratory fanfares and more grimly focused milestones in a race against time. Workers understood their contribution directly translated into the nation's ability to fight back. Every welded seam, every installed engine contributed to the impending counteroffensive. The training programs initiated earlier in 1941 proved crucial, providing a steady stream of semi-skilled labor ready to be absorbed into the accelerating production lines. Shipyard managers pushed innovation further, constantly seeking ways to shave hours and days off construction times, refining the assembly and prefabrication techniques. As 1941 drew to a close, the Liberty Ship program was poised on the edge of explosive growth. The infrastructure was largely in place, the workforce mobilized, and the national will firmly committed. The lessons learned and the systems established during these initial months created the launchpad for the unprecedented shipbuilding feats that would define the subsequent years of the war. The transition from peacetime emergency aid to wartime necessity fundamentally altered the character of the Liberty Ship program in late 1941. The theoretical urgency became stark reality. Government directives flowed swiftly, pushing for maximum output. The Maritime Commission worked tirelessly to overcome bottlenecks in materials and coordinate the complex logistics. During this period, the spirit of competition between shipyards intensified, but it was a rivalry channeled towards a common goal, delivering hulls faster than the enemy could sink them. Personal stories from the yards often spoke of long hours and difficult conditions, yet underscored by a profound sense of contributing directly to the nation's defense. The standardized design, once criticized by some traditionalists, now proved its immense value, facilitating rapid repairs and interchangeability of parts across the growing fleet. Although the total number of Liberty ships completed by December 31, 1941, remained relatively small compared to future output, the groundwork was firmly established. Shipyards had learned critical lessons about workflow, managing vast numbers of new workers, and integrating prefabrication on an industrial scale. Subsequently, the nation entered 1942 not just at war, but with a proven system ready for scaling up shipbuilding production to levels previously unimaginable. The end of 1941 marked the completion of the foundation. The structure itself was about to rise.